With the popularity of Souls-like games steadily rising, The Lies of P made its mark in 2023 as NeoWiz Games and Round 8 Studios immerse you in a gothic Tales from the Dark Side version of the well-known story of Pinocchio. And since I finally got around to playing it, I figured I'd share some of my thoughts on it in the event that you've been craving some engaging Souls-like action like I have. Honestly, at first the thought of playing a game starring Pinocchio seemed a little too Disney princess for me, but once Pinocchio turned out to be more like a Cyberdyne Systems Model 101 instead of a wooden doll carrying a daisy, things seemed to get a little bit more interesting. I kinda found myself putting my Starfield adventures on hold just to face tank some tough bosses in Souls-like fashion, until I learned the dance steps and perfected my Sekiro-style blocking. The blueprint for this game actually follows the methods and style of From Software games so closely that if I squinted my eyes while walking through certain areas of Krat, I'd swear I was back in Yharnam. And while as a whole it wasn't as difficult as Bloodborne, there were a few frustrating moments where I definitely wanted to same-day air my controller to the neighbor's dog. Whether you've played Souls-like games in the past or you're just dipping your toes in now, the combat options are pretty standard. You'll have a simple moveset such as a dodge, light and heavy attacks, as well as a mechanical interchangeable arm with a variety of different options. You won't get to loot any elaborate or oversized shields, but thankfully you can block with any weapon found throughout your travels, and there is a small mechanized arm option if shields are really your thing. The blocking system's reminiscent of Sekiro, where perfect guards will cancel out any incoming damage if you manage to time your block during what can only be described as a very tight parry window. The warm and fuzzy Souls-like feel doesn't stop with just combat, since early on you'll come across the Lies of P version of Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls 3, or the Round Table Hold if you've ever played Elden Ring. But instead of crumbling stone walls, you're treated to a 5-star hotel complete with all the item and weapon shops that you'll need, and a place that you can call home. You'll also come across a female NPC named Sophia that explains to you that she can harness the power of Ergo to increase your strength, which translates to leveling up and allocating attributes. She's kind of like a firekeeper with eyes whose tone of voice, mannerisms, and personality traits are eerily familiar. At the start of the game, you'll be able to choose one of 3 character types, each with different starting stats. Whether you're into speed or dodging around, or you want to tank your way through the story with oversized weapons, or even something in between. And while your class choice in the beginning may dictate how the first hour or so of your game plays out, your attribute selection as you level throughout the game is what actually determines what your character will be like in the end. But you'll need quite a bit of Ergo to develop your perfect build. So what's Ergo exactly? Ergo serves as the equivalent of Souls if you've ever played Dark Souls, or Runes if you've ever played Elden Ring. It's the essence of all things killed in the lands of P, and it's used as the universal currency for leveling as well as purchasing vendor items. And since leveling follows the Soul series games so closely, you'll likely need to find a farming spot here and there in the event that you need a few levels in a pinch to make some quick gains before a boss fight. This particular leveling system also includes soft and hard caps, which are the points during the progression of your character stats, where the benefits that you gain from increasing that stat begin to lessen or taper off as they increase past certain points. For example, the benefit that you gain from moving a stat from level 14 to 15 won't be the same as moving a stat from level 40 to 41, since most of the caps seem to start kicking in around that range. I mean, really, from the outside looking in, it seems like an almost exact carbon copy of Bloodborne, which is obvious and undeniable. But what it does improve on, if we're gonna draw those comparative lines in the sand, is the storyline and how it injects the right amount of cutscenes and a little bit of chatter from Gemini or outspoken Cricket, and character relationships that string you along at just the right moments. To deepen the storyline and tie it to the tales of Pinocchio, the game also incorporates a system that allows you to lie, and almost encourages it at times, which essentially develops your humanity and furthers your goal of becoming a real boy. Your willingness to lie also has some profound impacts on the story, how the game ends, and your ability to loot a rather special weapon depending on your choices. One of the more unique things that sets this game apart from its Souls-like ancestors is the ability to customize weapons by pulling them apart and putting them back together in whatever Mr. Potato Head version you'd like. This allows you to experiment with tailoring your favorite weapons to your playstyle, which changes up how you'll fight or enter into combat. You can experiment early on by putting a greatsword blade on a rapier hilt and engaging in some fencing-style combat with an enormous blade, or screwing a bone saw onto a police baton handle. Once you find your favorite combo, you can even change its stat scaling by utilizing different cranks on the weapon's hilt to better suit your needs. The possibilities are really endless, or up to your imagination. Unlike Souls games, The Lies of P has included some quality of life mechanics that I've always wanted in Souls-like games, one of which is your pile of death ergo, which ends up right outside the boss's area for easy collection, especially after getting bodied by the first flurry of unblockable attacks that the boss has to offer. Another thing that may seem small, but this nuance has a rather profound impact when trying to reach that perfect playthrough, and this handy item is called the Moonphase Pocket Watch, which is given freely and early on. The Moonphase Pocket Watch actually gives you the ability to teleport back to the last stargazer that you rested at, or the hotel, an unlimited amount of times, which beats out having to use some Dark Souls-esque like consumable like a homeward bone. The last quality of life mechanic that stands out against other Souls-like games deals with quest lines and turning in quest items. Whether it's a main quest or a side quest, the game will guide you to where you need to be by including a unique icon next to the area that you need to travel to for the next step. You'll still have to uncover these side quests, but at least you won't have to obsessively search every corner of the map or dig through item descriptions to complete them. There are a few hidden cipher quests that'll require a little bit of Souls-like brain power and searching, but they aren't overly difficult. While there aren't really any crazy armor sets that add unique passive effects, The Lies of P includes a skill tree that allows you to further tune your character into more of a Terminator than Pinocchio. Through the use of special consumable items, you can modify your mechanical heart through a list of both passive and active abilities, which enhances your combat effectiveness and gives you the ability to put a razor's edge on that build and playstyle that you like. All in all, The Lies of P is a polished game that's fun and exciting and well worth playing, especially if you've been looking for a fresh Souls-like experience. The storyline's interesting and engaging and includes not only the quintessential boss fights and the cutscenes that you'd normally expect, but it also includes a handful of other fun aspects that tie the story together with a big red bow. So if you have a Bloodborne-shaped hole in your heart and you need a great RPG with a new land so you can powder up your hand and pimp slap some enemies, The Lies of P is 100% worth it. If you need a quick guide to get you started with a pile of ergo early on, just click the video on the screen right now and it should light the way for you. Stay safe out there, and as always, good hunting.